I was 16 when my life collapsed because of a false accusation by a family friend and kicked out. But when I became rich and successful, my family plotted on my downfall. Camille, the woman I used to call Aunt, even though she wasn't related to us, accused me of stealing a few $100s from her purse. She'd been in my life forever. Holidays, school events, tutoring sessions. She used to call me her second son. So when she pointed at me with shaking hands and tears pouring down her face, I thought she was joking. But she wasn't. And my parents believed her instantly. I told them I didn't steal anything. I told them I'd barely been near her purse. I begged them to consider how absurd it was. But they didn't question her for a second. They didn't ask for proof. They didn't even look through the house. My mother shoved a backpack into my hands and told me she couldn't have a thief under her roof. My father told me to leave the keys on the counter. Camille cried harder, her voice breaking with every word. They threw me out that night into cold rain, as if I were something rotten they couldn't stand the smell of anymore. As I walked away from the house, soaked through, trembling, I decided I would never depend on anyone again, and I would never forgive them. The years that followed were brutal. I slept wherever I could, friends' basements, couches, sometimes outside. I worked any job I could get. Washing dishes, stocking shelves, bussing tables. I did homework under diner lights after midnight. And every time I wanted to quit, I remembered the look on my parents' faces when they told me to get out. That memory hardened into fuel. It pushed me through college on a scholarship, pushed me through getting a degree in computer engineering, pushed me through working at a startup where I practically lived under my desk. By the time I was 32, I'd built my own tech company, Hale Dynamics. Reporters called me self-made, a prodigy, the comeback kid. They didn't know the half of it, but I didn't care about the praise. What mattered was that I'd built something that couldn't be taken away from me. Or so I thought. One morning, a courier handed me an envelope with my mother's handwriting. I opened it out of curiosity, not hope. Inside was a letter demanding that I do the right thing and give half my wealth to Camille, who was apparently sick and struggling. They claimed I owed her for raising me, and they said I had damaged her reputation by abandoning the family. They even threatened to sue me if I refused. I laughed. Actually laughed. After everything they did, they thought I owed them something, but the lawsuit came anyway. And so did the reporters. They all painted me as heartless, ungrateful, selfish. I didn't say a word in my defense. I didn't need to. I had something they didn't know about, the truth. At the hearing, the courtroom buzzed like a hive. Everyone wanted to see the millionaire who wouldn't help his poor family. Camille sat in the front row wearing a neck brace, trying to look fragile. My parents avoided my eyes. My attorney asked whether I was sure I wanted to go through with what we'd planned. I told him to play everything. Camille spoke first, crying about how I had stolen from her years ago. My parents spoke next, painting themselves as victims who had done everything for me. They looked confident until it was my turn. I walked to the front and pulled out an old beige audio recorder. I explained that on the day Camille accused me, I'd been working on a school project at the dining table and didn't realize the recorder was still running. I found the file years later. My parents paled. The judge leaned forward. I pressed play. First came static, footsteps, clattering dishes. Then Camille's voice, sharp and annoyed, not crying at all. If he's still living here next week, I'm calling CPS. You two baby that boy. He needs a reality check. My mother hesitated, her voice small. Camille, we can't just throw him out. Camille cut her off. Say he stole the money. He always looks guilty anyway. It'll teach him a lesson. My father asked, uncertain. Are you sure about this? Camille's voice was cold. Positive. Kids like him only learn when you scare them straight. And then my mother's quiet surrender. All right, we'll say he took it. The recording ended, and the courtroom erupted. Gasps, shouts, reporters scrambling to take notes. The judge slammed her gavel until the room went silent again. My parents stared at me like they had never seen me before. Camille looked like she was going to be sick. I looked directly at them all and said, "You didn't scare me straight. You taught me I was alone. I built my life by myself because you threw me away." The judge dismissed their lawsuit immediately, calling their actions manipulative, cruel, and fraudulent. She said I had the right to pursue charges if I wanted. I told her I didn't need to. What I needed, I had already gotten. When I walked out of the courthouse, reporters swarmed me, asking how I felt, what message I had for my parents, whether I planned to press charges. I told them the truth. They're not my family. And for the first time in my life, saying it didn't hurt. It felt like freedom.